Today in class we started the first unit in the second half of Chapter 3, Section 3.2.1. And remember that our goal today was to be able to solve and check the equation and to know what the answer means. We started out with problem 3-69, which gave us a bunch of tiles on an equation mat and asked us to both solve it on the mat and also to write down the steps as we go along. Remember that there are multiple ways to do this, and so just if you do it some way different than me, that's fine. Just remember that if you've done it in a valid way, then you will get the same answer, even if you go a different way about it. Okay, so we have our tiles on here. The first thing we have to do is write down the expressions as they are on the mat. On the top part of this side, on the left side, we have 4x plus 1. And then down here in the opposite of section, we have 6 positive tiles. And so we need to take and mark it as an opposite of a positive 6. Remember that the lines down the middle represent equals. And on the other side, the other expression is 2x, and that's still in the positive or that section, so we're going to say plus 3. Now, I gave you a strategy that what I like to do is get things out of the opposite of, then I like to get my zeros gone, and then I like to get the x's to one side and the unit tiles to the other. We're going to follow that this time, even though you can do it a different way if you remember some of the other ways that we can do it. So, when I move these 6 units here, they change to their opposite because they're in the opposite of place. So the opposite of positive 6 will be negative 6 when it's up here. Remember that things in the top box are as they appear, and the things in the bottom box are opposites of. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those are now up there. I've moved them up. Let's write down what we have now. If we've done this right, then what we see on our paper should make sense. If I have a negative on the outside of a parentheses and it's a positive on the inside, the result is a negative. And so that looks like it has been done correctly. Now I'm going to look for zeros. And I see 1 0 on this side. A positive 1 and a negative 1 make a 0. And that's the way I have been marking them. And so I get to take the 0 off. Let's write down what we have now. 4x plus, minus 5. 4x, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, minus 5 equals 2x plus 3. Okay, next step after getting rid of all the zeros, because I don't see any more on the mat, was to move all the x's to one side, and I'm going to move all my x's over here to the left and all my unit tiles over to the right. Remember that when we move them to the opposite sides of the equal sign or the opposite sides of the mat, they change to their opposites. So when I move these over here, those will become 2 negative x tiles. And when I move this over here, it'll become 5 positive tiles. These will be gone. Those will be gone from that side. I'm going to write down what I have over here now. I have 4x minus 2x's. And I have, can just count those. They're all the same. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 unit tiles on this side. I see a 0 again, so I'm going to take care of it. I have 2 positive x's and 2 negative x's, and those will go off as zeros. And we now have 2x equals 8. Now, I've always told you that you can think of it as x's are your friends and 2 x's. So you have 2 friends and 8 things to split up. If you split your 8 things between your 2 friends, each friend will get 4. If you want to remember it from what maybe your previous teachers have talked about, this is 2 times x, and the opposite of times is going to be divide. So you can take your 2x over 8 and you can divide it 2 ways, and divide your 8 2 ways, and you'll get x equals 4. Now, on the algebra tile mat, remember the way that we showed that was if we lined up our x's on one side and we had those 8 tiles on the other, then each of these would get four unit tiles each to give me a total of 8 over here and 2 x's over here. So each x would equal 4. Now, we wanted to talk also about what this answer means. Okay? 4 is the number that if we put it back into our original expressions on both sides, will give us an answer, or will give us an answer so that both sides are equal. And so I'm going to show you that here. I'm going to cover up the mat for a moment while I do this. We started with 4x plus 1 minus 6 equals 2x plus 3. We are checking this answer to see if it's right. So this is the check. Okay, so we plug in 4 for the x. So I'm going to plug in that 4 there and there, and evaluate it on both sides. Find out what each side would equal. 4 times 4 is 16. Wrote that a little wrong on that, so we'll fix it. 16 plus 1 minus 6 equals 8 plus 3. 16 plus 1 is 17, minus 6 is 11, and 8 plus 3 is 11. I get the same number on both sides. So x equals 4 is correct. The number 4, when I put it in, made them both equal, both sides equal. Even though they look really different when I started out, we were looking for the number that if we put it in for x on one side and also put the same number in for the other side, would make these two things equal. And if it does, I can check this. Remember that equations, if they are solvable and you can get an answer, are one of the few times that you can always check your work and see if you've got the right answer. And that is how we do problem 69.